it was a night where I was actually doing pretty good defensively. I had like 4 steals going on, like my fifth one, a third going on fourth, and I got a steal going up for a dunk, and I was wanting to windmill it because I was by myself, but I jumped up and I probably got like 3-4 feet off the ground, and it just broke in midair. And when it broke in midair, I had to land, and I don't even remember how I landed. Like I truthfully don't. I just know I hit the ground, and when I hit the ground, I looked, and when I looked, I just kind of got like shell shocked.
What's going on today? I am the host, SchuZ Schumaker, and joining me today is this year's College Slam Dunk champion, one-time All-AAC tournament team selection, one-time American Athletic regular season champion, one-time American Athletic tournament champion. He's a one-time All-Big West first team selection. He's a member of the 2019 WAC All-WAC Defensive Team, and he's the man with $1 million leg, Taze Moore. Taze, I appreciate you taking time to come on today, man.
No, I appreciate you for having me, big dog.
Absolutely, man. Well, this has been a hectic time for you. We got a lot to get into today, but the most recent thing has been the slam dunk contest. You did your thing out there. You came away as a champion. You got to take us through that. What was that experience like?
It was real fun. For the most part, I was just tired from being off that Elite 8 run, that Sweet 16 run. So I didn't really do much. I just kicked it. I watched them do their dunks. And then at the end, I kind of like just played around with him and told him like I'm winning anyway, so I don't want to waste all my energy.
So you got to take us through the process of that. I mean, like I said, you just kind of said too, like you were going through this process and you were going through the Elite 8 run. Like, it wasn't like you had a whole bunch of time to prepare for it, but you had some unique dunks out there. So I wanted you to kind of walk us through each one that you threw down during that contest and where they originated from.
So my first dunk was like an Aaron Gordon dunk.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I was just warming up just because like everything was like so spaced out that we didn't have time to like stretching things to be like fully good. But yeah, I just started out simple just to see where everybody else was. And then when I realized like, okay, everybody pulling out their tricks, I bet I might gotta shake it up a bit. So, and my second dunk, I think was the Vince Carter dunk.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the phone with my mom and like one of my old high school coaches that I'm cool with because we still chatted up a bit. And I was asking them like, yo, what is something different that I can do? Like, because I'm pretty sure everybody is trying to think of something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, I need to find me a Vince Carter jersey. Like somebody, I need to figure out like where it is. So like as I'm walking down the street, I'm not even noticing. Like I look to my right and it's like the Riverwalk Mall, something like that. I go in there, I give me a jersey, I come out, and then the rest is history. So I ended up doing that dunk. And then the last dunk is something that like I kind of just played with. Like it was in one of my recent dunks that blew up off like Instagram, and I guess like nobody really seen it. I was just trying some stuff out, usually like I do anyway, but it was like a double tap off the backboard, and I don't think I ever seen nobody do that. So I thought that was pretty like unique of me just to like come up with a new one. Like, I don't know, I got favorite dunkers too, like Gerald Green, Richard, what's his name? I said Richard, yeah, I think I'm right.
Jason Richardson?
Jason Richardson,
Yeah.
I got a lot of dunkers that I like and things like that. So Aaron Gordon is one of them. Zach LaVine is one of them. So I just try to be unique with what I do.
Now, when you were going to that competition, I know you were obviously the favorite for I think a lot of people to win that. Were you shocked by Alondas and some of the guys and what they were capable of doing?
Oh yeah, facts. I didn't think like it was gonna be. I even told them that like, okay, I didn't know y'all was like that. So when I seen that, I was like, okay, I'm not the only one here that's pretty like athletic.
Now, another thing that's signature about you is the $1 million leg. So you got to kind of take us through that a little bit. Where the nickname for a star and how that come to be?
It's crazy because I actually hate that nickname, but it's funny though. It's funny though. But my freshman year of high school, I had like a stress fracture in my leg. And they told me I was good, but I played through my whole high school season, got to college, went through the summer workout with it, and didn't know. Like the whole time it was kind of like building up. So I want to say by like, I think the date was February 11th, 2017. That's the day I broke it. I was going up for a dunk. I jumped up in the air, and when I jumped up in the air, it just like broke in midair. So I had to land like however. Come to find out, we did some back tracing, and they were like, the bone was actually dead. Like, it was like a dead bone because there wasn't any like blood flowing through it. So it didn't have enough time to like get back to where it needed to be. So I had 5 surgeries. Honestly, I feel like that's too much to even think about because I tried to get over them. But I'm really happy about the last one. That's the one I really tell people about because they took bone out of my hip and put it in my knee for it to be what it is. I mean, I got a rod, I got screws, I got plates and things like that in there. But I think without that last procedure or whatever, I probably wouldn't have been like how I am. So I kind of just keep that one special. But I can't even remember what happened in like the ones previous besides like my first and second surgery. But like I could feel like 2 screws, like you know how you touch the end of a screw and you can feel like the cross of the screw? Mm-hmm. I can feel it like in the middle of my knee and in the bottom of my ankle. So I'm like, yeah, bro, y'all gotta go get this fixed. Like, I don't know what this is, but I know I'm not supposed to be feeling it like through my knee. So, and then after that, it was more so the second surgery was to kind of like fix the rod a little bit and like push my bone down so it can all like come together. And then the third and fourth one, I couldn't even tell you what they were, to be honest.
Now, this is the thing that obviously people have got to start slowly hearing more and more about it. Obviously, every time you play in a game or during the dunk contest, they brought up the 5 surgeries. They brought up the countless days you had to go through the different surgeries and what you kind of went through in a certain extent. But obviously, no one's got to hear it necessarily from you and throughout your story. So that's what I kind of wanted to get you on today. I want people to get to know how you became the player because that's not the only adversity you faced throughout your life either. So I kind of want people to get to know how you became the guy that we know you as today, the 2022 NBA draft prospect. So we head all the way back. You are originally from Mississippi. You were originally born out there in Memphis, Tennessee, but you ended up growing out there in Southhaven, Mississippi. So take us that a little bit. What was it like growing up out there?
Growing out in Mississippi, it was fun for me just because like I grew up with a lot of kids that I graduated with. So like we all kind of grew up together in a sense. Small town, real rural area. Just real kickback, but it's a lot of stuff that can go on that you probably wouldn't want your kid to get into at a young age. Mm-hmm. So me, I kind of just stuck to sports, and I can thank my mom for that just because she seen me like as a kid. My dad is pretty athletic. He played football a long time ago. He played for a lot of different teams and things like that, colleges and things like that. But yeah, I just always kind of been athletically gifted more so than anybody. And my mom always told me that like you got an athletic gift, like how some people are just naturally smart. Mm-hmm. She was like, God just blessed you being athletically gifted. So I want to say like growing up in Mississippi, I really got into football and things first and being around like my country family members that were kind of like rough when we played football and things like that. So I kind of like that, being able to hit and hit other people, getting hit and hit other people. So, and man, going through all that time, I think I stopped playing football my 9th grade year. Me and one of the coaches didn't see eye to eye on some things. So I was like, man, I'm going to just go play basketball. And one thing about me, I played quarterback and receiver. And like when I was younger, I played running back. I was a really good running back. But I could always see, so I was always good at passing. But like even Coach Sampson tells me now, but like I always been like a crazy passer. Like I used to like to do the flashy passes, like the Rondo passes and the Steve Nash's and the Jason Kidd passes. Like I used to always want to do those and regular make the simple pass. So that was kind of hard for me to get into at first. Oh, and not to backtrack, to backtrack a little bit, but how I got into basketball is my uncle. He played basketball at a high school level, but he was known around the city of Memphis as like Skip. Mm-hmm. And I used to always ask him, like, why did they call you Skip? And his favorite and1 player was Skip to Malou. And we used to watch and1 crazy growing up. Like mine was like the Helicopter, Ayo, the Professor, Hot Sauce. Like I got a lot of favorites. Like that's how I kind of got into it. So that kind of replicated all the fancy passes and the crazy stuff that I used to do. So, yeah, man, that's really crazy that you asked me because nobody really asked me that no more, like how I kind of got into it because I used to be a football guy.
And we kind of go through that one piece, and you brought up too, where you obviously grew up in an area that is known for obviously a lot of other stuff going on off the court, place that you probably, like you said, you don't want to get involved in, and a lot of guys obviously do, and it's not necessarily easy to avoid that either. How were you able to kind of lock in and say, there obviously are countless other things that could go down the wrong path when I'm doing throughout my life. What kept you locked on the right side?
The the three women in my life that I love the most, my grandmother, my mother, and my great-grandmother. They always stayed on me about the future and where I want to be and the crowds that you can be around. And then, like, I was thankful to have a couple of older people in the neighborhood that they just looked out for me. They told me where to be, where not to be, when to go home, when not to go home, like things like that, because they seen potential in me. And I always respected everybody. Mm-hmm. So people always respected me and things like that. And I was never like I'm not going to say I was never like a bad kid. I just used to have my little anger. Like I used to get attitudes and stuff like that. But for the most part, I just think that's me having passion for a lot of stuff that I care about.
Growing up in that environment, how did that help make you, or how has it even helped get you to the point I tried to say, like, how was growing up in that environment, having to deal with, see the things you dealt with and saw, how did that help kind of turn you into the person that you are today?
I mean, it's all about the adversity for me. I've always been in a tough situation since I was a kid, just living like how I was. And when I was a kid, when our apartment burned down, when I was staying with my dad, so my mom had to figure things out. Like, it's just always been an adversity thing for me, and how do you bounce back? I'm not the type of person to really sit there and why me? Why did this happen to me so much? I'm really how do you get through it? How do you figure it out type of guy? I feel like I got that from my mom just because, like I said, we've been in so many situations. She never really complained about anything. She just kind of moved on to the next thing. And I was probably spoiled for a large period of my life, so I could probably see like, oh, yeah, I might have did this or did that. But for the most part, I just kind of like fought through things. Where I come from, nobody's give you nothing. And my biggest thing, I kind of made this a quote of myself, is like, in my city, if you go back home and you're a nobody, you'll be a nobody for the rest of your life. So I can't afford to be a nobody.
You kind of just brought up another interesting story that I've heard or read about before, but that was about the house burning down, apartment burning down. Walk us that a little bit.
I was really in Miami as a kid at the time, but I remember my mom calling me and seeing some Facebook posts about, like, because, you know, Facebook was popping at the time. I was younger. But they were hitting me talking about, your house burned down. I'm like, my house burned down. And, like, I go look on the news, and it was just, like, an apartment building burned down. I guess it was, like, electrocuted. Like, someone was at the top of it, got electrocuted and burned down. It was just a crazy story because I had so many trophies, like, growing up as a kid that got burned down. Clothes, shoes, and we just had to start over. So it just made everything a little bit harder just because my mom, I'm not even gonna say we because I was a kid, my mom worked so hard, my grandmother and grandmother, they worked so hard to give me the things that I got. It was precious to me because I was grateful for it.
At what point in your life did you start to realize that you are growing up in a situation that's not necessarily easy? I mean, obviously as a kid, you don't necessarily realize that from the beginning, but when did you start saying, okay, I know it's going to be a lot harder for me. I'm going to have to go through a lot of different things. I have to push through it. When did that start kind of clicking for you?
You want me to keep it 100% a buck with you? It didn't start hitting me until college, until I started to go to like a therapy session. Like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of guys that grow up how I grew up, you just think that's normal. And that's the norm of how you go through things. And somebody had to tell me, like, that's not normal. Like, you shouldn't see this and you shouldn't see that. So I can't even tell you. A lot of people used to tell me, like, it's not normal. And I just used to think about it as if, like, all right, it's not normal to you, but, like, at the end of the day, like, you got to get through it. You just got to figure it out. And that's just been my main thing, just figuring things out.
As you kind of go back a little bit in terms of the aspect of sports, you said that basketball wasn't necessarily the first thing you got into, was football. So when you did start kind of falling in love with the game of basketball, like, what exactly caused that shift for you? And what all of a sudden made you say, okay, I want to go all in on basketball now?
I didn't really get into, like, believing in myself until basketball until, like, my junior year. Like, I was a late bloomer and everything. I was, like, 5'8" my freshman year of high school. Then I grew to be 6'5", 6'6", like, the one of the tallest on my team. 6'4", 6'5" at the time. I probably gained an inch now. But I was the tallest one on my team, and I ran guard. And then on defense, I guarded the biggest guy. So I wouldn't say 11th grade, I started believing in myself. And then, like, just seeing, like, the competition that I would play against, me being the tough kid that I am, and, like, some kids that were up there and some kids that were, like, more privileged than I was and played at better schools. I think, like, just being able to take their, like, energy and love away for the game, and, like, in that split moment of, like, 40 minutes that they don't want to play, I think that was the most fun for me.
Have you always had your super athleticism? Have you always been a guy that could jump out the gym, or did that gradually come over time, or when did it start for you?
I think I always been athletically gifted as my age group kept going. You know what I'm saying? Like at 6, I was gifted. At 7, I was athletic. But I don't think it really started hitting me until like my junior year, because I didn't really start like dunking until my junior year. And I didn't get my first crazy dunk, like a windmill or like a crazy like between the legs dunk, like a reverse, until like probably like March, like in the ending of my season of my junior year. Like I didn't start going crazy with dunks until like a late bloomer.
Now that's actually crazy because that's kind of skipping ahead a little bit. But your first dunk was as a junior in high school, and now today you're probably, if not the most bouncy person in the entire world at your age. How crazy has it been just seeing the way you developed from that point, what, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever it is, to today?
It's really crazy to me because a lot of situations that I'm in now and that I've been through, I never thought that I'd be in. Like I never thought that I could say I did this or I did that. So I'm just really like just thankful and blessed. I'm really happy about where I'm at right now, and I just try to stay in the moment, because I know if you look too far or you look back too much, you kind of put yourself in an ill will kind of feeling of a way. So I just try to stay in the moment and just live on, just because the moment that you in now, I feel like you should be your most happiest in.
You brought up the three most important women in your life, and I kind of want to go back to it a little bit because I read that you also refer to them as pretty much your three girlfriends. So I want to go a little bit deeper into them. Like, how important were they for you and you becoming the man that you are today?
No, they were mad, and they were crazy important. They still will be until I'm gone. But I don't know. It's just like being able to talk about them, it just give me excitement, because like both of my grandmother and my great grandmother, they're not here with me no more. So I just kind of like live with the moments that I do have,
Yeah.
which is mainly me being the kid, me being the goofiest, me being, you know what I'm saying, happy, funny, and crazy and everything like that, their baby. And then with my mom, it's just like both that I'm cool with my dad now as we build our relationship, but my mom has always been my mom and my dad at the same time. So it's fun having that, but then again, you know, when you want to go through certain things and you want to be able to talk to somebody, mom is dad, dad is mom, it's kind of like it's tough to be around sometimes. But my mom is an incredible woman. I love that woman dearly. We joke and kid all the time. We're more so like, I'm not gonna say we more so like brother and sister, but we play like brother and sister. Like we just got that connection now more than ever. And just having those three in my life to build up what I've been through and what I've gone through now has just been amazing.
I have to imagine it was kind of difficult at the same time because being pretty much the man of the house from pretty much the day you're born to eventually over pretty much your entire childhood growing up. How did you go through this? How did that also help make you into the person that you are today, having to kind of take on that responsibility in a sense, like younger age?
Yeah. So I mean, it just made me real deal step up and think of ways. Like in high school, I had like 2 jobs, and I didn't work them at the same time, but I had 2 jobs throughout my whole time of like my junior year and my junior and senior year of high school. And I just wanted to help my mom out. I got tired of asking for shoes and asking for clothes and things like that. I wanted my own stuff. So for the most part, it's just me wanting to be grown, but then again, know that like I just wanted to help my mom. I didn't want her to stress for anything. I didn't want her to worry about me and how she needed to pay a bill or do this. I chipped in money for a bill sometimes. Stayed around the house more so than go out with friends. Like I just did a lot more with my people to help them out.
I also read that your plan growing up pretty much was you didn't necessarily think you were going to get out of that place. You thought that that was going to be somewhere you lived for the remainder of your life, that you were just going to end up getting a job at a factory or something like that. Obviously, now know today that that's not going to be the case for yourself. You're going to be having a very good chance of playing NBA, and if not there, you play professionally somewhere.
Yeah.
What was the mentality like? What were you thinking though heading into high school? Like, where did you think you would be in the future in terms of as a 30-year-old, 40-year-old, et cetera? Like, where do you think you would be down the road?
Uh, just because I said Mississippi, I felt like a factory, just because a lot of times like the Amazon factory or the UPS, like a lot of people go to stuff like that to get money. I guess that's a good way to make money back home. So I just thought about it like that. Especially without me getting my degree, like if I didn't finish. So that's kind of how I was thinking though. But like now I'm kind of seeing myself as like basketball didn't work and I got my degree and things that I want to do. I'll probably be like a social worker or a counselor, just because like I feel like I've been through so much that I can relate to certain people, and I can give back and show what I've been through and show them probably how to get through it.
Let's go into your high school career. You end up going out there to Southhaven High and you end up having your career out there, but take us through the very beginning, your freshman season. What was that first year like, just getting out there, attending the school, and also in this basketball aspect too? Like, what was that first year of high school like for yourself?
It was real cool. My first and my well, I ain't gonna say my first and last coach, but my coach that finished me for my freshman, it's my senior year. He was a great guy, taught honor. I respect him. Father figure, great man, holy guy, really into the church. Like I got the utmost respect for him. I always joke with him now because he's frail and he's kind of like small compared to me being big as I am. But I always tell him, like, if somebody mess with you, you call me. So he know I got his back, and I know he got mine, and I know he gonna help me out through whatever. But he kind of helped me really graduate and grow. And I know that's not kind of like the question that you asked, but like he kind of helped me graduate and grow from the playful, skinny kid that went into school. Because I'm not gonna lie, see, when I was a freshman, I wanted to do everything flashy. Like I didn't care about the real basketball standpoint of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew what was going on. Like he knew I had a high IQ for things, and he knew like I knew how to play, but he didn't know how to kind of like get it into me yet. And I think one day like he kind of like yelled at me. He don't yell at nobody. Like he yelled at me, and it kind of made me realize like, yeah, man, you could probably do this. But freshman year, he helped me out. He helped me figure out a lot of things. Sophomore year, my name kind of blew around the city and around like Mississippi a lot. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I got kind of like the big head because a lot of people was talking to me. I think by my junior year, I kind of like settled in like one of the top players in the state. And then by my senior year, I was the one of the top two between me and a guy named Tyson Carter. He went to Mississippi State. He's overseas now, but I grew gradually. Like I grew real slow into high school, and I think that was the part that didn't help me get far as I needed to, but it helped me get somewhere.
Now, going a little bit deeper into the coach relationship with yourself, to have him kind of come into your life, especially at that point in your life, how important was that for you?
No, that was very important for me, just because at the time I think I was going through a lot mentally, in a sense of just wanting somebody to be around to kind of help with a lot of things going on and a lot of things that was on my plate. And I was seeing a lot of crazy things as a kid too. So like just having somebody to kind of be that mentor, that person that could kind of like, yo, you could always be at my house, or you can go to the gym, or it was a safe haven. He made me feel like I was real safe around him. He made me feel like, you know what I'm saying, Taze, you could really go be somebody if you go really put yourself out there and you go work for things like that. So I'm grateful for him. He knows how grateful I am for him. I got him tickets to come see the dunk contest. Mm-hmm. So him and his wife. His wife was one of my teachers growing up, and they got two little kids now that I call like my sisters. So, man, I know I'm probably ranting, but no, I appreciate them crazy. Like I appreciate them more than they even know it, and I tell them that all the time. I give them praise about a lot of stuff, but I'm thankful for them.
If someone came and told you as a freshman in high school that in 4 years from that point in time that you'd be a guy that could still play at a Division I level, you'd have an offer to be able to go to school and have your school paid for, what would your reaction have been?
I would have been real happy. I would have been real happy just because I worked a lot, bro. I worked out a lot, and I did a lot of stuff. And just not to be seen how you want to be seen, I mean, it is what it is, but it's all in God's hand. And I mean, I feel like he seen me. I'm not gonna say I feel. I know he seen me working, and I know he seen me put in a lot of the work that I was putting in, especially when my leg broke, and I put in countless hours of rehab and things like that, and just changing me as a person and my attitude, because I just wasn't good in my soul and my spirit type stuff. So I just feel like he blessed me in the end.
Now you go into your sophomore season. Walk us through that year. Like, what was that year like for you in terms of on the court?
It was really just like me and Coach Barnes talked about. It was really just like a get in shape year. Mm-hmm. Like just get back to being you. If you don't feel like you can dunk it, don't dunk. If you feel like, just get back to being you. Get back to feeling comfortable and in the pace of the game. I can say it helped me because like it slowed down the game for me. Mm-hmm. But it kind of like messed me up because I was kind of like scared to do a lot of the things that I'm used to doing.
So at that point in time, did you think that you were going to become a Division I basketball player, or where were you in terms of your outlook on your career as a basketball player?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought I'd be at a Division I school. I just didn't think I'd be there at a high school. I never thought I'd be. I didn't really think highly of myself because like of the area I was in, and growing up, I kind of had like a bad attitude. So I could understand where coaches wouldn't want to take that risk, especially me looking at it now. But it's like, yeah. Then I was like, yeah, I could probably go somewhere like a D1, D2. I didn't think real highly of myself though.
I did read about that a little bit. I know you kind of brought up a little earlier too. You kind of did have a hot head growing up, I guess, throughout high school. Take us to that a little bit. Like, what exactly was that, and just how exactly did that look like when you're at school and just on the court?
Oh man, it was bad. I ain't gonna tell you, it was bad, man. Like, I remember one game, and this is crazy, but I remember one game, like it was like second half, I had like 4 fouls. And I'm like, bro, I'm not even touching nobody. And like I got to arguing with like the ref's son in the crowd. And like one thing about Southhaven, and I can tell you this, and anybody can preach it for me. If you go in the Southhaven High School gym, at the time, that was like my school. So like if it was a problem, I didn't have to do nothing. I didn't have to say nothing. Like it was just bad. So I kind of just like never like try to get into that because it was so many people looking out for me. Like I told you back in the day, a lot of people just, they wanted to make sure I was good. But I got to arguing with like her son. A lot of people didn't like that. I didn't like it. And I think like I got so mad because she was the actual one that gave me my 5th foul in like the 3rd quarter when things were getting crunch time. I think I like threw a chair, went to the back and like cried to my mom because I was just so mad. And man, I was just like, bro, when I sit back and look at it now, it's like, bro, you were crazy. Like you were crazy. Like that's some crazy stuff. But another story, what we got like to a mini fight on the court because like I got pushed out the air when I was going up for a dunk, but it was like kind of bad because I kind of like landed on my shoulder. So it was like a full out brawl. It was just crazy. But it wasn't like a bad school. We weren't bad kids and it wasn't like a bad team. It was just like things happened and we reacted.
When you watch yourself today, obviously you don't do any of that stuff anymore. You still have that dog mentality, that toughness about you, but what caused the shift in you? Like what caused you all of a sudden, when was that shift for you to start saying, you know what, I'm going to just change a little bit. I'm going to keep that dog mentality still, but I'm not going to do all the other extra stuff.
Kind of last year when I was in Bakersfield, that last year because it was things that I kind of wanted, and I realized like, bro, you're a senior, like, and you're gonna be in this real life. Like without basketball, you're gonna be in the real life soon, and it's about how you like present yourself, how your character is, and how you go about your days. You can't be moody every day. You can't be out here worried about things that you can't control. And I kind of just stuck to that. And that was another reason about me coming to Houston because I knew everybody that I talked to told me like, yeah, you won't like Coach Sampson because he's a tough coach and this and that, and he won't let you get your way. And that was kind of what I was looking for, kind of what I was needing, just that guidance of somebody who wasn't going to back down to a tough kid like me. Because, I mean, a lot of people didn't want to tell me nothing growing up because, like, I was so, like, tough and I was so hard-headed at the time, I guess. But when I realized, like, he was a type person, and it's not the fact that he don't care, he just don't have time for your BS. He don't have time for it because it's bigger than you. And that's kind of what I got from here, but it started from Bakersfield. Like Coach Barnes kind of put it in me, and then when I was going through my decision, it was like pick a coach who's gonna be stern on you. He gonna love you, but he gonna give it to you to 100% honesty, and that's all I wanted.
Let's go into your upperclassmen years of high school. Then your junior season, like you said, that's when you really start feeling like you could have something special in basketball. You felt like you could become a player. So, what led to that jump? Like, what led to that junior year where you started being able to dunk? Now you started kind of having that breakout for yourself. Take us to that junior season.
Man, I just put in a lot of work that whole summer because we were a pretty good team, but we were losing like one of our dominant players. He's in the league now, but his name was Terrence Davis. And he was there, and a lot of people, we were known as like Lob City because we always dunked and threw crazy lobs and things like that. When he left, a lot of people didn't think we would be as good. Like they knew I was good, but they didn't think the team was be good. And I just wanted the team to be getting talked about just as much as me because it don't look right when one person getting talked about and the team ain't in a good space. And I done been on teams before where it's like one person's getting talked about and it could bring kind of form of a jealousy.
Yeah.
But the great thing about it, like I told you earlier, like I grew up with a lot of my friends. So a lot of them that played on the basketball team, I grew up with since like third grade.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to say, like, by the time it was time for me to be like a captain, like my senior year, it was guys coming in and it was already kind of like my team. So, yeah, man, it was just really just that jump of you want to go to college and you want to be able to provide and get your education. Because I always promised my grandmother I would get my education, I'd get a degree. So that was my main thing for me, is just getting out. And I didn't want to be in Mississippi. I didn't want to be around green grass and trees all day and in a city that you can drive 4 hours within the whole state of Mississippi and get through 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours. Like, nah, I didn't want that. I wanted to be somewhere that I could see and experience and live and just not be in that situation that I was in.
You kind of talk about Terrence a little bit. I want to go a little bit deeper into that because obviously he's made an NBA career for himself now. He's already on a second NBA contract. Doesn't look to be slowing down anytime soon either. So what was it like being around him at the younger ages when you guys were in high school? What was that like?
It was cool. It was real cool. I mean, like I said, we all grew up together. We just really kicked it. His mom stayed down the street from me. His mom came to my senior night and things like that. It was real. It was like a brother relationship. We always kicked it with each other. We always stayed close and things like that. We always talked. And I mean, we were goofy kids, so that was nothing. Like, we always laughed and played together. We had the best time. So that was great, honestly.
Which one of you two first started playing basketball, and when did you guys first start playing together then?
I can't tell you when he started playing. I started really getting into it like, well, I ain't gonna cap. I can say middle school because we got into it. He was an 8th grader. I was a 7th grader.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we always played, but we just played on 2 different teams. And then when we got to high school, he played like I think his 9th grade, my 8th grade year, he was already playing on varsity. So, like, when I got to high school, I played like 1 year at JV, but I was on the varsity team too. So I would play with him. And then from my sophomore year on, we played every other day together until he graduated.
So when you two, I have to imagine, played multiple one-on-one games growing up and then obviously maybe today at some points, but what were those one-on-one games like? When you two decided to go match up, like, what were those games like?
It was intense. I mean, we both like winning. We both hated losing. We would talk crazy to each other, but at the end of the day, I mean, we were the best of friends. It's just all out of competition and wanting to be the better person. So, like, I think that was the easiest thing for us, is just to be competitive and talk crazy to each other. I mean, I don't know. That's just like our background too. So it's just like, it was fun just to be able to be us.
So if you two were to go right now and play a game of one-on-one, who's winning first game to 7?
I'm winning. Off the rip, I'm winning.
So when's the last time you two got to play a game then together?
Probably like a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get into that senior year then for yourself, because as you said, it was officially your time then. It was your team. You guys go pretty far too. You guys become a district champions that season. What was that senior year like for yourself?
That senior year was lovely. That was probably a cakewalk. And I'm not saying it like basketball. I'm just saying school and everything. Like, I think that's the most funnest time I ever had in my life in high school, like my senior year, just because everything was so chill. A lot of people, I kind of like the attention. I always liked attention. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm my only kid. I'm my only child on my mom's side. So my dad's side, I got 4 brothers or 3 other brothers. So me, I kind of always like that attention. I kind of always like being around and being goofy. Like I always said, I used to get in trouble a lot for being like the class clown. So, like, I don't know. My senior year was fun, dog. It was just me staying out the way of whatever was going on the outside, staying in the gym and being with friends.
You also, I know, ran track for a little bit too, I believe. Yeah. Where was that, and how long did you run track in high school for?
I ran track my senior year. Everybody was telling me, like, oh, you should have just kept doing it. And I'm like, yeah, bro, it's too hot to be outside, dog. Like, it's way too hot to be outside running and doing track and stuff like that. So, man, I started getting into that. And I think the first thing they was like, you should do the high jump and hurdles. I always did hurdles. Let me stop. I can go back to 8th grade. I won the 300 hurdles in 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And I won the 100 hurdles in 8th grade. And that was the last time I did it until my senior year. They were like, you should do high jump. I was like, okay, cool. So, the high jump thing is like up. Instead of me jumping off one leg, I like jumped off 2 feet and like curved off and did a front flip over it. And they were like, yo, like, like you got too much bounce when you can do stuff like that. I'm like, ain't you just supposed to get over the pole? They're like, yeah, but it's supposed to be like off one leg. And then they had me like go watch YouTube videos, stacked up videos, DVDs of like high jumpers. So like that was that. And then like my senior year, I was in hurdles. I did the 100 hurdles. And I made it all the way until like the tournament, like the conference, I guess. And I won the record by like 10 seconds. Like I killed everybody in like 10 seconds of the race. So like, I don't know, that was fun. And the only reason why I didn't go to like North Half Division or whatever you call it is because my grandmother had a stroke. So I just threw it to the side and just was there for family type things. But the crazy thing was that if I kept running, if I kept running, 9 times out of 10, I probably would have won that because my time that I finished with in the division was the best time that they seen since like 10 years ago, I think, from a guy in Mississippi. So I for sure probably would have won that hurdle throughout the championship of the state of Mississippi. I wish I kind of stayed into it when I got into college a little bit. I wanted to my freshman year, but I felt like that was too much.
I know obviously you're going to go into basketball and all that, but have you ever thought of, in the offseason one time, I might go back and try for something if there was a chance for the Olympics or for anything like that?
I mean, if they come to me, yeah, I wouldn't go put myself out there because I feel like it's some real high-class dudes out there that do that for a living now. So, like, yeah, nah. It's like I like to be good at what I'm good at. So, like, if I can't be the best at what I'm good at, I don't even try to get into it.
Now, let's go through the recruiting aspect for yourself a little bit because you obviously have another unique story. You weren't ranked. You didn't have any stars coming out of your name. You had a few offers, though. But take us through that a little bit. What was the recruiting aspect like for yourself going through high school?
Really, nobody hit me up. Just a couple JUCOs out of Mississippi and things like that. And then I want to say, like, my senior year, a lot of schools that gave me interest from, like, the AUCs in Memphis, Tennessee at the time. Just a lot of, like, places close to me type thing. Austin P, just small mid-major schools. And then Bakersfield came about in UTRGV. One of the coaches, I can't even remember his name, but one of the coaches at UTRGV recruited me. And another coach, Coach Barnes actually recruited me. No, Coach Mark Schuh recruited me. And then he ended up leaving when I got to Bakersfield. But not to go too far into that. When I was getting recruited, my high school principal, he had a son that played at CSUB. And he told him to come out and watch a few games, and he ended up liking me. And I went on a visit. My grandmother liked it. My mom liked it. So I was like, I'll keep this in my back pocket. Then went to UTRGV because I only went on 2 visits. Went to UTRGV and went there. I was like, bro, this is too close to Mexico. I was like, yeah, bro, I don't like this. Like, this is too close to Mexico. So, like, I was like, nah. And then it was, like, steaming hot outside. So I was like, yeah, bro, nah. So I made the decision to go to Bakersfield, and the rest was kind of history after that.
I know obviously every guy would want to be a guy that's ranked, has a name somewhere, but especially in the offer aspect, obviously I can imagine your dream was, I want to go play at a high school. I want to go play these bigger schools. How did you deal with that? Were you okay with that? Was it bothering you at all? Like, how did you handle not being probably exactly where you wanted on the recruiting aspect?
I didn't really take it as like, of course you want to go somewhere. Like my dream school was Memphis. I like Derrick Rose. I like so many guys, and I know I didn't play against some of them for so long that it's crazy. But like, I like Memphis and I like Ole Miss just because it was close enough for family to come to. But Kentucky was all around my favorite school. I love Coach Calipari even when he was at Memphis. So when he went to Kentucky, I just became a Kentucky fan. But I didn't really care just because, man, like I always tell people, and a lot of people know this, when you coming out of a small state like Mississippi, not like a lot of kids are now because it's more cameras and it's more people doing that type thing. But when I was in school, nobody was kind of doing that, coming out to schools to record games and things like that. So I was just thankful. I was just real thankful. Of course, you always want to go to a bigger school, like you say, but like, I was just thankful. I didn't really care. I was just cool to go somewhere and get out of Mississippi.
When you look back at yourself and as a player, how talented you were at that point, do you feel that at that point in time you were a guy that probably deserved, you could have had a school like Memphis come and pursue you, an Ole Miss or something, or was it just that over the past 4 or 5 years you really developed into becoming the type of player that you now obviously could go to one of the schools if you really wanted to?
Yeah, man. I don't even know. That's a real hard question to even answer though, for real, just because I don't know. I don't even know. I don't even know how to answer that one for real. That's a hard one.
Now you look back at everything you've gone through throughout high school, even middle school. What would you say was the biggest thing you learned from your childhood that you've now taken into your college and your overall career after high school?
There's nothing wrong with change. A lot of people don't want to change, and it's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I honestly feel like when you go against the most adversity, the times you don't want to change the most is probably the time you need to. So just change and being real observant. Like me, like I said, I done been in so many situations that kids shouldn't be in. I just became real observant. I know when to be around something. I know if I get an instinct feeling and I don't feel good about something, I know when to pull away or when to leave. So just that.
Well, let's go into your next journey, and that is going to college. And I know that you were the first male in your family to be able to go to college. How big was that for yourself?
It was real. It was, you want me to be honest with you? I didn't care for it just because nobody really liked school. But like my grandmother wanted that for me. And my grandmother was a big school person. She'd been a teacher for about 4 decades. She's been doing it for a long time. My grandmother was a nurse. My mom was a nurse and then went to being a secretary. So I mean, like I always been around education. Nothing but education, nothing but real deal, like books and learning all my life. But honestly, I think that was probably easy for me. Like school was so easy for me because they helped me out and do things like that. And then just like not being in school, being around like areas that I was, it just gave me like school and street smart. And it just like tapped off one another.
Now, this kind of goes back a little bit, but I wanted to do it this way because overall, you have probably your roughest year's time span then starts around midway through, obviously, when your grandma passed away and she had her issue, and all the way, obviously, the injuries and you suffered and everything. Walk us through that first incident, though, when you ended up losing your grandma. Walk us through how you dealt with that.
She had a stroke like early in the year, so she couldn't see me go to prom. That kind of messed with me. Then she ended up passing she couldn't watch me walk at my graduation either. That kind of messed with me a lot. And then she ended up passing like a week before I had to go to college. So like just a lot of downfall that wasn't her fault. And it just I don't know. I wanted to make her proud, and I know deep down it was. But then again, I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? Being so young, I didn't know if she felt it. I didn't know if she seen it. I didn't know if she comprehended everything because you had a stroke. You really just working on one side of your brain. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really know if she knew anything, remembered anything, and things like that. So that was just really tough for me. And then going into college, knowing that like my best friend is like not with me anymore. It was just real tough for me just because everybody knows, like, man, Taze loves his grandmother. Everybody knows Taze is his grandmother's baby, and that's his best friend. I tell anybody that to this day that my grandmother is my best friend. So that, then my injuries came around, and that was messing with me. And I want to say a month after that, I lost a homeboy. His name was Mayman. I got him tatted on me. Mm-hmm. His name was Mayman. I lost him. And then probably like in the summertime, I lost another homeboy that I was close with named MJ. And I lost a lot of people, but like, I understand now that like when you losing people to old age, that's a good thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? They got to see life. They got to go through things and they got to see life. So it's nothing to dread about. But I got a lot of friends that didn't make it to see 21, 22, 23, 25. A lot of aunties and uncles that never got to see 60. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of like bothered me a lot, including with the names that I gave you that's not here with me anymore. So It messed with me at first, and then I kind of just learned to like go on with it, just because at the end of the day you're gonna have to go on with life. I just kind of figured it out, and I always keep them close to me. I just keep memories. Like I say, I keep memories. I just keep it going.
So you get up then to your freshman season, and a freshman year is not easy for anybody, period, no matter what level, where you're at for basketball. It's a big jump. It's a new atmosphere. And for you, obviously, it's moving to a whole other state, new area of life for you, away from family. And of course, you had on top of it, you just lost your grandma too, just a couple of weeks before that. What was life like getting ready to go into the college lifestyle when you're just going through the training camp, dealing with everything that's kind of just adjusting, lost your grandma? How did you get through all that your freshman summer?
I really was lost, and my coaches, they was really helpful because they knew that like I wasn't mentally there. So they kind of just took their time with me really at the time. Coach Barnes, Coach Connerow, Coach Scott, a lot of that, they just took their time with me because they knew that like at the moment in time I was vulnerable. I was really a kid. I was 17 when I came to college. My family was everything that I knew. So they just really like brought me in, and they didn't rush me to do anything. They didn't really they weren't really hard on me at the time or nothing like that because they knew at the moment what was going on. Coach Barnes actually came to my grandmother's funeral. So that kind of let you know how much respect he had for her and things like that. So, yeah, man, it was just really tough at the moment, at the time.
I do want to go into Coach Barnes because it's obviously a unique situation. We'll get into it a little bit later, obviously, when you talk about the transfer to Houston. But just the kind of going forward, though, and you just talk about that aspect too, like he obviously, I know backstory, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he even helped you end up going to Houston. He talked to Coach Sampson and kind of helped you go to that way. And there's a lot of stories I've heard, and people have heard that coaches, when a guy decides to transfer out, probably isn't the nicest about it. Guys don't really want to back them anymore. He took the extra effort to kind of help you out. So that kind of shows how big of a deal he was for you, what a guy, type of person he is. So what is Coach Barnes like, and just how big has he been in your life now during that 4 or 5 year span with him?
He's a great guy, man. That's still like one of my mentors to this day, if not the main one. Good guy, good wholesome guy. And he's really like I used to call him Pops all the time because he was somewhat like a father figure to me, just about the way he stayed on me. When I went back home to go visit home, he would call me and tell my mom, like, make sure he ain't nowhere where he not supposed to be. And just little things like that, man. He just really he looked after me like I was his son, and he took me in because he kind of knew that I was a lost child, lost soul. And I appreciate him. I mean, even me, I know it wasn't the easiest decision for him to let me like go and things like that. Nor did he probably want me to go. But I love that dude, just like my high school coach. I always have his back. I always fight for him. And we still talk a little bit to this day. We don't talk much because, you know what I'm saying, we at 2 different schools. He got things to worry about. I got things to worry about. But now, like, with the season being over with, we kind of talk a bit more, and we kind of bounce back. I bounce back off deals off him and kind of pick his brain. So it's just cool. He a real cool. That's my guy.
When you look back at all the memories that you two created together, which one would you say was your favorite one, or which one stands out the most to you?
Just graduating. He was there with my grandmother when she told me like education is big, and we had a big sit down, and he came over to eat and things like that. It was just that part. So me walking and him knowing my grandmother and being a part of things like that, that was special to me, that meant a lot to me. It just meant a lot. And it was, I think that was my special moment with him, besides him jumping up and down for his birthday after we got him a win. I think it was like 2017 before he had his gray hairs. But yeah, I think that's the best time I had with him. And I got a lot of good times with him because we laugh and we joke, and man, we didn't argue and things like that because that's like a real father figure to me. But like, it's so much, but I think that's the best moment.
So did you two click, would you say, right away? Was it when you guys first started recruiting? Was it right when you guys got on campus? Was it maybe a couple years into your career? Like, when did you two really click on and off the court?
I think it's when he came back to Mississippi. Because, you know, he's from Mississippi, I'm from Mississippi. And he hadn't been back in so long. When he came back, I guess he seen himself in me a little bit. Just a Mississippi kid going through a lot, trying to figure things out, and just kind of need somebody to be there for him.
So let's go into that freshman season. And obviously we know the ending of it, so we're going to get into separately. But the first part of that, you got to go through the season. You play the first 24 games, I guess more like 23, but you end up playing through that season. You get a solid role on the team. What was that freshman year like up until the injury?
I was good at playing with upperclassmen and things like that, and I was just one of the freshmen out of one of three freshmen to play. The other two red-shirted. It was just real good to just be a part of that team as a young guy and actually be somebody that comes in and give big minutes. So I mean, it was great for me. I didn't try to take it too over the top. I was just thankful to play for them, play with them because I mean they had like 6 seniors at the time. So I was just good. I was just happy to play.
Now, that 24th game happens then, and I know we kind of touch upon a little bit in the beginning of the interview, but I do want to go more in depth into it now because obviously that's something that you become well known for. It is a miracle, obviously, you became the player you still are after going through this injury that you've gone through. So kind of take us through that a little bit. Obviously, the injury goes down, but you kind of mentioned earlier there was a little backstory behind that. That was almost like a dead Lego in the way you said too, or something about that. So take us through this whole situation and how did it all lead up to it? And then take us through the play that actually occurred on.
So went to high school, played on the dead leg. They basically said the blood didn't flow through the muscle, so it didn't give it time to regain and reheal as it needed to. So I went on and played through high school, went on and played through college. It didn't bother me like when I got to college in the beginning years, and then I want to say just January, the month of January at the end, probably like January 18th, 19th. It just started feeling weird. And then it ended up being a whole month later where it just felt bad. Like I was just running and it just didn't feel good. Like it just didn't feel good at all. So went up on a play and I think it was a night where I was actually doing pretty good defensively. I had like 4 steals going on like my 5th one, a 3rd going on 4th. And I got a steal going up for a dunk and I was wanting to windmill it because I was by myself, but I jumped up and I probably got like 3-4 feet off the ground and it just broke in midair. And when it broke in midair, I had to land. And I don't even remember how I landed. Like I truthfully don't. I just know I hit the ground, and when I hit the ground, I looked, and when I looked, I just kind of got like shell shocked because I couldn't move it. I couldn't do nothing, and I was really like just a dead horse. And I kind of freaked out for a bit. I said some words, and next thing you know, they threw like a towel over my face, so I didn't see anything. And I think that was the best thing for me because I couldn't see nothing. And I got in the ambulance. When I got in the ambulance, I know that's pretty country of me saying it, the ambulance, but however I said the ambulance, and when I got in there, I stopped crying. Like I just really like I said, usually a lot of times I go through a lot of stuff where you go through it and you figure it out. So from then, I was just trying to figure it out. Like, all right, bro, is it broken? Is it ACL? Is it MCL? Like, what is it? And just because the moment was so quick, I knew I felt like a bone pop, but I didn't know what it was. So I'm thinking like, yeah, I don't know what it is. The whole time I'm telling like the trainer that I rehab with, Zach, I'm telling him like, yeah, man, like, I hope it's like an ACL, MCL, knock on wood now. But he was like, no, you actually hope that the bone is broken. Mm-hmm. You'd rather have a broken bone than like a ligament or something like that. Yeah. So ended up going to the doctors, and this is probably where you're going to laugh and giggle. I had teammates come in and visit me after the game, and they gave me like 4 different like pain medications, but it didn't work because I was like so immune to like pain, stuff like that. I got a high pain tolerance. So they gave me like morphine. When they gave me morphine, if anybody that take morphine, they know morphine is cold and then it just gets relaxing. Like it just get relaxing. So my teammates came in there messing with me. And after I took the morphine, I was like, how you feel? I was like, boy, I don't feel nothing. Like, I don't feel nothing. Like, I don't feel nothing. And I'm on top of the world. Like, I'm feeling good. And they like, yeah, bro. I ended up falling asleep, waking up the next morning and like kind of freaking out when I woke up because I kind of forgot what happened. Mm-hmm. So when I woke up the next morning, freaked out, pressed the button, and they was like, hey, you broke your leg last night. Mm-hmm. And I had to wait like a day or 2 days to actually get surgery. So I kind of like just sat with a broken leg for like a day and a half.
Now, I want people to kind of get a little bit of the picture, not necessarily exactly, but I know when I read about it, you kind of explained it too. It wasn't just one of those breaks that you don't see. I believe it was one of the more gruesome ones. And obviously you think of the Paul George, the Kevin Wares, those type of injuries. How close was it to yours like that? Was it one of those I was like was one of the more gruesome ones, the Paul George, the Kevin Ware, the Livingston, Sean Livingston type ones? Was it one of those, or how far was it on the gruesome aspect?
Mine was more so on the Paul George, not the Kevin Ware. I really don't even know. I heard Sean Livingston had the same thing, but I don't know if mine was as gruesome as his, but I know for a fact mine was like Paul George's. And I don't know if he has a rod or plates or anything, but I got all of that. Like rod, plate, screws. I could probably bump knees with somebody and not feel it. So
The thing about that, though, that as you mentioned too, when you're talking about injuries and the rehab prospect, a lot of people obviously say, okay, yes, you'd rather have the broken leg, as nasty as it looks, than the ACL torn or MCL, whatever those type of injuries are, because of just the rehab process. But the other side of that too is that in ACL, you have some sense of a fear necessarily coming back. It's still a little bit shocking to you, but there's kind of trauma in a way that comes with seeing your leg not supposed to be looking like that. So
yeah.
how did you deal with that? Was that challenging for yourself? Was it difficult? Like, how did you go through and deal with getting back of just knowing that your leg looked like that? Like, how did you deal with that?
I kind of honestly, and I used to tell people this all the time. I just don't look at it. Like when I first started, like now I can sit here and look at it and be like, man, it's crazy. Like, but when I first started, I didn't look at it. I wore sweatpants. Even when it was bandaged up, I used to go buy like 2X's, 3X's, extra larges to put pants on just so it could cover the whole leg. So, and I didn't wear the brace on the outside. I wore it on the inside and just put pants on because I didn't want, I don't know. It's just something about people seeing me at my lowest that I don't like. Like a wounded lion. Like I don't like it. So like me, I just tried to cover it up and like fake it till I made it.
At that point in time, I know obviously maybe a little bit after I should say, because obviously at that point I just want to get to the surgery and get the pain done with. But when you did kind of start getting back in a certain sense, I know there's still a lot more surgeries to come, but after that first one was done, you were in a way feeling back, essentially you knew it was thought, at least at the time, was probably over. Where were you thinking basketball aspect? Like, did you think that was still something you were going to play at that point for the first surgery, or where were you even thinking about basketball after the very first one?
I want to say I gave every single last one of my surgeries a chance, but after the last one, I told him and I told Coach Barnes, I had a meeting with him, or I called him, one of the two. I can't think about it, but I know I talked to him specifically, and I was just like, if it don't work, just let me get my degree and let me be like a GA, like a grad assistant, and I'll figure it out. Like, I'll figure it out. Like, I always been able to figure things out. If things didn't work, I'll just figure it out. And that's kind of what we stuck on. If things didn't work, he let me finish and get my degree. And that's all I wanted. I didn't want anything else because, like I told you earlier, I promised my grandmother that I would get it. So I just tried to stick to my promises.
So when you were going through those processes of each surgery, going through them, rehabbing, going through them again, fixing it, hoping it would work obviously each time, where were you just mentally? How are you dealing with that? Because I know obviously no matter where you are in life, like no one wants to go through one surgery, let alone 5 of them in a short span. Yeah. How did you go through? Like, what was your mentality as you kept going through one after another?
I was really angry. Like I was really angry. I was really like jealous that I could see because I didn't go and Barnes vouched for me. I don't know no coach that'll let me do this in America, but I went to no practices after I broke my leg. Like I probably went. I'm not gonna lie. I probably went to like 2. But like, they used to ask me all the time, you gonna come? I'm like, nah. And it was just like me, like, I'm a competitor, I'm a fighter, like, I'm that person. Like, I feel like everything that I've been through in my life is that. So that's all I know is to get up and fight through things. But when you can't physically get up and you can't physically get to doing things, I'd rather just be by myself, honestly, like me. And at that time, it was probably like bad because I was going through so much. So like I could understand like where I was in my head, like where I was so like everywhere. But then again, it was like I didn't want nobody feeling like pity. I didn't want nobody's pity on me. I didn't want nobody feeling sad for me. I didn't want nobody coming around just because I'm hurt. Like, nah, if you don't come around now, don't come around because I'm hurt. I'm fine. I'm a tough kid. I've been through it all before. Not all like this, but I've been through situations where you might be on your own and you might have to figure it out. Might have to get new friends. Like it's just that situation. So I didn't want nobody to feel pity on me. I didn't want nobody to feel like, oh, that kid and this and that. I didn't want all that.
When you had your surgery completed, did they think it was a success? Like after the very first one and you got done with it, did they say, okay, this is successful? then you went through and you said, okay, it's not going to work? Or was it just that right after the surgery, they said, okay, this wasn't successful, we need to try another one?
No, after everyone, they was like, oh, it's going to work.
Mm.
After everyone. And it just didn't. It didn't fall through.
So when you were going through that time span, what was the original, like after the very first surgery, what was the original time span for you to get back on the court? Like, was it a 6-month, 8-month, 9-month process? What was the very first expectation after the first surgery?
In every single one of my surgeries, it was 6 to 8 months just to come back. And I kind of came back from the hip one in like 4.5, 5.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the last one, it just felt so good that like I was just doing more and I kept rehabbing more. So I feel like the more I kept rehabbing and the more I kept doing things that I needed to do, it just put me in position to be good.
Now, at that same point in time, kind of going away from the surgery and the rehab process, another thing that ends up happening in your life that you touched upon a little bit earlier, your best friend ends up getting shot as well then. How did you take that in the mix of everything you already were going through?
Angry, real angry. Just because like, I think like a couple of days, like 3 or 4 days before he passed, like I called him and was like, man, come to Baco. Like, you don't need to be out there. Like you could, you know what I'm saying? If you see something different, you're going to want something different. And I always tell my friends that if you see something different, you're going to want something different. If you don't see nothing at all, you don't know what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And we literally had that conversation a couple of days before. And I got that call from a couple more of our friend groups and I seen posts and things like that. And I didn't believe it just because you know how it is. Like you never want to believe somebody's actually gone, but
yeah.
I was just angry. And then it was the fact of it being in my city and Southhaven is so small that you kind of know. So it's like, yeah, it just had me angry. It just had me really, really mad. I can't even say I was upset or sad. I was just more so angry than anything.
I also know that you do have a relationship with God in a certain sense. So where were you on that aspect? Like, were you, I know you kind of had a lot of people that were believers in your corner from your high school coaches and everything. Where were you at that point in time in your life? Were you a believer? Were you talking to God at all? Or where were you on the faith aspect at that point in time?
I'm a believer. I didn't kind of talk to him because, like I said, a lot of my stuff that I was thinking about, it wasn't in a good headspace. And like me, I didn't want to bring that to God. Like, you know what I'm saying? Even though he knows everything we thinking, he knows everything we're going through and everything like that. I didn't want to go and give him that negative energy, give him that energy that he probably wouldn't want out of me and probably none of his kids. So like, I prayed for days for me to just have strength and for me to get through days. But that was real rare just because like at the time, like I just went through whatever I went through on my own. And I just think that was just me being in a dark space at the time. I just kind of went with life and kind of got away from what I know.
So at what point then would you say you started kind of getting out of that cloud when you started saying, okay, I'm trusting God more, you kind of built that relationship up and kind of brought yourself out of that place? Like, when did that start coming back to you?
Probably like my junior year. Coach Barnes used to beg me to go to church with him all the time. And he ended up getting like the pastor and his wife to come to the school. And like from there, they were always in the school. The pastor and the wife, they were always in the school. They were always good people. We always seen them at like events and stuff. But I think like after I got through my injury and I lost my Uncle Pete. I lost my Uncle Pete, my Uncle Bob, probably like back to back. And I just was not up for nothing, for real. Like practices, it wasn't it. We'd go out to eat as a team and it wasn't it. Like I just wasn't feeling it. And he was like, man, maybe you need to get back your connection with God. Like maybe if you give yourself to someone else and if you don't hold on to so much that you holding on to, you'll probably be better. And when he did that, I would dibble and dabble out of church, but I would pray a lot. And I remember going to him when I first started because I'm like, yo, I don't know how to pray. Like, I don't know what you do. Like, and he was like, man, you just talk. Like, you just talk. You can come to him and just talk. Because I'm thinking like when I was younger, like I would pray, but you know how like your family members pray with you and things like that.
Yep.
So it was more so like that. And I know the Lord's Prayer, so I always go by the Lord's Prayer. But he was like, man, when you got stuff on your heart and on your mind, you just need to talk. So, I mean, it's kind of been like that. It's kind of been like a talking relationship. And it's crazy because I feel like when I talk to him, he shows me that like he's listening in ways of things that's going on.
Compared to that point when you started really building that relationship with God, then you started in a way going to church again, was another pastor. When was that in terms of the surgery aspect? Like, was that after the fifth one, before the fifth one, like during the third, fourth? Like, when was it in terms of the number of surgery when you started that relationship again?
I think it was in the middle probably of the fifth one, like kind of when I was going through rehabbing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was kind of during the end. Just because I wanted things to work so bad. And I knew that I knew me as a person, I wasn't good as a person at the time. I knew, like I told you before, like just me going about my days and my ways, it just wasn't good. So I just felt like if you just give it all to somebody else, like I think I remember when things happened with my one of my friends passed, and I think I like cried to Barnes, man. I told him like, yo, man, like I'll be vulnerable. Just help me figure it out. Like, cause I was so like in tune with being tough and like not saying being tough because I'm a tough kid or whatever, but like just not showing nobody that emotion. I think like that was my like breakthrough moment. Like, yo, you just need to let it all go.
Now, I know that's something that's huge for any believer. Obviously, I mean, 99% of guys or whatever obviously have that, but they don't always want to be as emotional. There obviously are some out there, but a lot of guys that just have that personality type. And then obviously some guys have it more so than others or whatever. But for you, when you look back at that, when you look at other guys that's going through similar shoes as you, guys that are growing back up where you're growing up, or any other place across the world that have gone through certain issues, how big would it be for them to come to God earlier on? Or how big was it just for you to trust in God? And what kind of would be your advice to at the same time for other players or people or just going through life in general, whatever they're doing, to kind of trust in God or just have that kind of be open to becoming more open to the people?
I always tell people, because people are people, that you'll get into it when you get into it.
Yeah.
Some are quicker than others. Some are more so getting things in life that they want, so they don't think they have to pray about it and be thankful for it. So, I mean, you get into it when you get into it. But like I tell people, don't need them. Every time you calling for them, it's because you need them. It's because you want something. Just talk to him. He'll figure out a way to give it back to you. And when that time comes and when you're ready, you know what I'm saying, give yourself and devote yourself to him, and he'll devote himself back to you if you're just doing it the right way.
Absolutely, man. Well, let's go into that fifth surgery then. It's complete. You're going through, like you said, you start feeling good pretty early on. So where were you in terms of your career at that point in time? If someone would have came and told you, in a 3 years or 4 year span from that point, you're going to be playing in March Madness, going to the Elite Eight. You're going to win a dunk contest. You're going to be a guy that has a chance to be playing the NBA in a couple of months now. Could that have ever even crossed your mind at that point in time? Or what would your reaction have been if someone told you that?
I would have been like, man, get out my face. I would have been like, man, you just talking. Just because like I'm so used to hearing crazy things. And it's actually crazy because all the crazy things that I used to hear growing up, I'm actually living it now. So it's kind of like a good thing. And I say kind of just because like I said, I'm an only child. I'm cool with the cameras. I'm cool with being around people, but like I like my sense of peace. So I mean, that's cool too. Yeah, that's all I can really say about that. It's cool being in this type of environment, honestly.
If doctors were talking at that point in time, did they think you could ever even come close to the type of athletes that you become again now? Or where do they think you'd be athleticism wise? Like, do they think you'd be able to recover and to have your same bounce again? Or where do they think you'd be? And where did you think too that you'd be athleticism wise?
They all told me I probably wouldn't jump the same. I kind of thought I wouldn't jump the same. That's why like Coach Barnes, he used to like sit me in a chair. I'll never forget when I did start going back to practice. It's because like he used to tell me all the time, like every time you don't come to practice, I think he like got stern with me because he kind of like realized like, oh yeah, you're coming back soon, so you need to figure out and you need to be around teammates so people don't feel a type way. Because he's a pretty smart coach about that type of stuff. So he was like, man, come to the gym and just shoot for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I'm like, shoot? Like, what you want me to shoot for? Like, I can't move. So he'll put a chair under the goal and I would do form shots for 45 minutes to an hour, 30 minutes, 45. It just depends on how he felt that day. And I remember every day that I was like, they always told me when you make 50 in a row, we'll scoot the chair back. And I got to a point where it was like, bro, I'm tired of sitting under the goal. I want to shoot free throws. I want to shoot threes. I want to shoot half court shots. Like, so like, And that's what kind of helped me have like a crazy senior year in Baco with shooting, because like it was all form shots. And I was shooting the ball at a good like form from the 3-point line, sitting down in a chair, and I couldn't even get any lift. Mm-hmm. So like kind of like, and I know that's probably where we go next. Like, where do you go from there? But like, that's what kind of helped me get back into basketball. Coach Barnes telling me to come back and just shoot and just put the ball in your hand and see the ball go through the net. Maybe you'll get a little love for it again. Because at that point, I was done with basketball. I was mentally, physically, emotionally done with basketball.
So you have the well talked about now, I think most people know this date, 634 days from the time you last played a game to the time you get back on that court. But I want to first go to the very first time you got back to 100% I was close enough where you were able to go and do a full-on practice. What was that day like for yourself?
Scared for my life. Just because I didn't know, like, I knew every play. I knew how everybody played, but I just didn't know how I would, like, feel. And I didn't want to step too hard. I didn't want to turn no corners. I didn't want to, I didn't want to do anything. I just really wanted to shoot. And I barely wanted to jump when I shot. I was just real terrified. I was real scared, honestly. And I don't think I ever told nobody that. Like, everybody asked me to this day, like, oh, how were you? I was good. Like, but deep down, I was terrified.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of going back to what I said, too, about the thing about those type of injuries, that there is a little bit of trauma that comes with it long term, especially trying to play again. I know a lot of people have seen the Alex Smith situation, him coming back, and those type of guys recently. When, though, was it for you that you started finally getting over that fear of saying, okay, you know, I think my leg's going to hold up now. I truly can trust it again. I'm going to start jumping. When do you feel like you got full confidence in your leg again?
I can't even tell you the exact time, but I think it was like after probably that next season. So like last year and last year's season, probably when I got like fully comfortable. No, the year before that, I got fully comfortable dunking and things like that. But one thing about it, my teammates here get on me about it a lot because they be like, you jump through the roof and you don't want to dunk on anybody. I be like, bro, I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm nervous, bro. But yeah, I want to just say, like, when I stopped being scared and nervous, probably like my junior year, when I started figuring out, like, probably that summer, because I think I was coming back that summer. So yeah, probably that summer, I think I just started putting little chairs in a way and jumping over chairs, jumping over garbage cans and little stuff like that. And then I just kind of gradually started getting into dunking again.
You said earlier that you don't like the nickname $1 Million Leg. I know that's what people keep calling you. It goes viral now. It's kind of your nickname. So obviously, at the end of the day, whatever you want to call it, it's a very special leg you've got because it's something that not very few humans have capable of. So if you were to come out right now and change that nickname, if you wanted to give your athleticism, your legs a new nickname, what would that be?
Skywalker. I think I heard that one time, and I think I like that one. I like Skywalker.
Absolutely, man. Well, let's head into that first season, get back out there then. It's your redshirt sophomore season, then technically a junior season of college overall academically and eligibility-wise. But you go out there, you get a rotational spot again. You end up starting 4 games too. You end up playing in 30 that year. Pretty solid team overall as well that season. So what was that first year back on the court playing again like for yourself?
Kind of nerve-wracking, kind of scared. But it was just me getting into shape, me figuring out how to get back to myself. Just me trying to just get back right, get back to my athleticism, get back to running as hard, playing as hard. Because I didn't want to play as hard because I was really nervous to do anything at that time. Yeah. But it just gave me ultimate confidence to know that, like, bro, you're good. Like, when we got into January, February, and it was time to go to conference, and I did, like, 3 or 4 months already, I was like, you good. And then I kind of just told myself, like, man, if anything happens to you, like, you good. Like, you going to always be good. Like, so just go out there and just give it your all and figure it out on the way.
There was a player that came out there during your redshirt season when you had the injury and all that. Then you got to play with in that season another Mississippi guy in Jarkel, who obviously has become, in my opinion, is one of the more underrated players in the country. But what was it like playing alongside him for that one season?
I mean, it was good. That was like my partner in crime. And it sucked because I didn't get a chance to play with him like I wanted to because that was my comeback year. And that was a year he was excelling at a crazy rate. So that was fun. And even though I didn't get to play with him like I wanted to, like I played, but I didn't get to play at the level I wanted to, it was just good seeing somebody that come from where I come from that's younger than me and he's doing good things. Yeah. Like he know, everybody kind of know that I never hate on anybody. I kind of I like to see everybody get up and do what they need to do just because it only puts everybody in a position that they want to be in. So him coming out there and me being able, because I recruited him a little bit to come out there, so him being able to come out there and do what he did and be able to go back home with the name that he has in Baker, and he can still go back to Bakersfield now. People know him. It's good.
And that is a unique characteristic that you just brought up there. And that's the fact that you said you want everyone to be successful, you want everyone to be good. That's something that regardless of whatever walk of life you come from, not a lot of people have that mindset. There are some obviously, but I'd say probably 60% of them don't naturally have that thought process. And then you take in the aspect of everything you've gone through to that point in time. How have you been able to still be a guy that is regarded not just as someone that's cool to be around, but someone that is known as one of the guys that has the most energy, the most joy, the most love in the locker room, the funniest guy? Like, how have you still been able to become this type of person, even though you've gone through everything you've gone through?
That's just me, honestly. I know, like, deep down, like, I'm nothing but a big kid. I like to have fun. I like to joke around. Before all that happened, I was a big kid. Before all my downfalls and little heartache happened, I was the biggest kid. I was the goofiest kid. So, I mean, I just never wanted to change from me being happy in what I do. And that was just me staying true to myself. That's why I feel like that's why it's so good for me to want everybody to win, just because, like, I feel like when you don't hate and when you show good emotion, you show good energy, and you give off that vibe, it comes back to you in ways that you won't even see it. Like, it might not come back in ways that you can physically get it, but it'll come back to you. And when you get it, you'll cherish it. You'll understand it. You'll know where it came from.
There's one play that season, that your first comeback season, that I want to go into because it's something that you've now been on quite a bit throughout your career in that Sports Center. And you had the number 5 play for that 1 week, and it was a game-winning shot against Utah Valley. You got to take us to that because I feel like that had to be special for you. Not just the fact that it was a game winner, it was a special shot and all that, but coming back and you get to have that moment again. How big was that for you? Just what was that play like for yourself?
It felt great. It felt amazing, just because, like, I'm used to making tough shots and I'm used to being put in tough situations. In that 1 year, Jarkel and a lot of the other players handled the load. So in a time that was, like, nerve-wracking because it was a close game, I'm just glad I got to be able to pull through and help out. And it gave me, I think that's what gave me my ultimate confidence to come back and do everything I needed to do. Just that one shot.
Now, I do want to go into your game overall because you are a unique player. Obviously, your best traits, your athleticism, that's what has a good chance, obviously, getting you, hoping you get to the NBA, your main thing. But you have a lot of other intangibles that's huge about your game. You obviously can score the ball. Obviously, it's not like a go-to, all-around, going to get you 20 points a game type of guy. But your guy can go obviously knock down a shot if you need to. You can go get a bucket when you need to. But also, in my opinion, probably the best thing that I could see translating to the NBA too is your defensive side. You obviously are become a guy that can guard 1 to 3, maybe in some cases the 4-man. You have the energy, the toughness about you. How did all that come to you? Was it just that you've always had the defensive nature? Have you always been able to score? Like, when did the different traits come to you over time?
I think offensively, I've always been able to score just because I'm creative. Like, I just like to do some of the crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Especially, like, with me being, like, athletic. And a lot of stuff, like, I don't know why, but I practice on a lot of, like, foul plays, like the 3-point plays and stuff like that. I might do it with, like, a sock. I might bump my girl and hit a sock and hit a shot or something. Or I might do something crazy, hit my mom and fall back like you fouled me type stuff and hit a crazy shot. But, man, I don't know. I kind of like the ISO game. Just because it's space. I like coming out pin downs and screens and stuff like that, but just being in that ISO sense and defense, I just like taking that, having somebody have joy and then taking it away from them. I think that's probably the best part for me. And it's like at the end of the game, I can tell you, like, you had a good game. I think that's the best part for me. But it's like, I don't know. And then it's like if people get off on me, like the Davis kid from Wisconsin, when they beat us, I'm going to give his man his respect when it's due. He had a good game. He had a great game. Yeah. And I ain't say nothing to him. Why? Because he had a good game. But it's like, I don't know. I kind of take pride on taking that fun out of somebody or taking that excitement out of somebody for a minute because it gives me excitement. Especially like when you see, it's kind of like having a little brother and you beat him in 2K all day. It's like that.
Well, let's go into that next season then. It's your next year after your comeback season. Jarkowski goes out to Ole Miss now, where he's been out for the past couple of years. And you pretty much have the keys of the team to a certain extent. You become a guy that says, okay, we need you to score the ball. We need you to be an all-around player. We need you to become basically the guy on this team now. How did you take on that role then?
Honestly, I ain't really worried about it because I've always been in that position. Like I was telling you from a young kid, I've been gifted. I've been talented for a lot of stuff. So I've always been put in that position. So I think when I broke my leg and I got put out of it, it kind of like bothered me. So when I got put back in it, I just took it and ran with it.
So what was that year like? You get to go out there and you get to play at that high level again. You become a guy that makes the all-college defensive team. You just become an all-around great season for yourself. What was that year like for you?
It was good. It was a real good year. It was actually just like a year for me to figure out if I could really go make money or not. Just trying to figure out, because that first year me coming back, it was trying to come back and figure out. And then the next year it was like, okay, are you good enough to go to the next level and do things like that? And then I had great teammates. I had teammates that wanted me to score, that wanted me to do a lot of things. Like I'm pretty passive. I think a lot of our guards, even on this Houston team right now, I think we could all go get 20 points, me, Kyla, and Jamal. But like we just work so good together, and we feed off each other our passing that like we don't have to. We can have a couple guys that scores 14, 15 points, and 3 of us might have 7 assists, 6 assists, 5 assists, and it looks good. And in Baco, I think that was the one thing about being there is that like a lot of people kind of like put their eyes on me and defensive schemes, and I was just real passive, and it made everything a lot easier.
Now that season, there was a change that happened for yourself. You wore number 3 for the beginning parts of your career, most of your career up until that point. You then switched into the number 4 jersey that we now see you in a lot. What led to that change? Like, why'd you go from 3 to 4?
I had to get back to my roots, man. In high school, I was number 4. And I was number 3 for a long time. And I did number 3 because like it was like one of my uncle's favorite numbers. I always liked number 3. But the crazy part is when I got number 4 in high school, I hated that jersey. I'm like, bro, who is number 4? Like, who is number 4 in the NBA? Like, and then I started to think about it, like, I don't know nobody that's number 4 in the NBA. So I might as well just take it and run with it. Like, so I kind of started liking it from freshman to senior year, and then I got away from it and came back and was like, yeah, I just want to get back to my roots. I want to feel like me again. I want to play in a number that like my grandmother got to see me in before she passed. That way she can still see me doing things from up above. And I just wanted to kind of re-amp myself, replenish myself.
At the end of that season, another obstacle comes, not just for yourself, for everybody, but obviously that's the COVID pandemic. And obviously ends the season for the tournament, all that stuff happening. Then everything goes on crazy from there, as everyone's experienced. But take us through that for yourself, though. When that first came in, how did you go through that? Just what was your approach during the very first parts of the pandemic, during that summer and spring and all that stuff? How did you go about the COVID pandemic?
I was really freaked out because I didn't know what was going on in the beginning. Because I think we were on the bus to Vegas, like literally on the bus to Vegas, and they turned us around. Or we got to Vegas, somebody got sick, and we didn't even play it. Like we turned around as soon as we figured all of that stuff happened. And like my whole summer, it was really like hard for us to work out and things like that because California rules and how things were going down and things like that. So like we didn't get to work out how we wanted to. We had like 2 to 3 separate groups. So we really weren't never around each other. When we ran like 10 yards apart. It was just no interaction. It was really just boring and dead. Honestly, it was no like fun in it. For the most parts, we stayed with roommates. So like you couldn't leave your roommate. If one of your roommate got sick and you wasn't sick, it was like both of y'all had to quarantine. I think that was the worst thing ever. So it was like, yeah, bro, like I hated it. I did not like COVID. I can say I liked it because of school. Like I didn't have to go to school. But like, yeah, I hated COVID.
So I know some guys went back home during the summer. Obviously, typically you guys always go back home during the off season. But did you stay in California on campus? Did you go back home to Mississippi, or what kind of was your summer like?
I stayed back home in Cali. I don't even think I got on the flight till like the next, like when we found out in like that March, April, I didn't probably get on a flight next year until September, July, September. I didn't even go home for the summer. I just stayed because I kind of just wanted to work on my craft and stuff like that. But then again, I didn't want to go outside with the COVID and things going on, and I didn't want to do all that. So I kicked it. I stayed in the house. I bought a little mini goal, played basketball on my mini goal. It was good.
And then you go into last season, and that one was a year that I think most players were thankful that they had a season. Obviously, you could still play, but between the protocols and everything, I know, especially once again, you guys were in California, so it was by far the strictest protocols you guys had to go through. What was that year like? Just last year, having to go through pretty much daily testing, all the mask wearing, the separation. What was the COVID year like for you guys?
It was horrible. It was horrible. It was horrible. It was just, I hated wearing a mask. I hate that it hurt behind my ears. I used to tell people and joke all the time, like, yeah, people with hot breath are really suffering right now because now they got to smell their own breath. I was making a joke out of it to make myself get through it. Just cause like, I'm like, yeah, man, if y'all don't go get y'all shots, man, just know y'all gonna have that thing. I was just making fun, and I wanted our team, our players and stuff to be safe. Like it was mandatory for us to get shots and stuff like that. So we had teammates that didn't want it. And I'm like, yeah, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, might as well. And I don't think I got it that whole year. So I'm just convincing everybody else to get it. And then like, yeah. So I didn't have to get it until I got here. I think it was here or like a little bit before that, but yeah.
No, that had to be just crazy, like I said, too, because you guys had the strictest protocols in terms of California.
Yeah.
What was that like? I know you said it. I mean, I think you guys had either daily testing or 3 or 4 times a week, whatever it ended up being for you guys. What was it just on the COVID aspect, like dealing with that on the court, trying to practice with the team, having games canceled here and there? What was the course of that season like for you?
They took, I don't know about everywhere else, but in Cali, they took all the rims off the rim. They took all the rims off the goals that was outside. So like if you wanted to go outside and play, all the rims were taken. You couldn't go nowhere. Inside gyms were closed. Our gym was open, but we had 6 baskets, and everybody would kind of be separated, and they would tell you what to do. And then it got to a point where things got a little better, and there'd be like 2 people together, but we'll have masks and a coach, and the coach would have to have gloves on. And we would like make fun of him for having gloves and a mask on and stuff like that. It was just dreading, bro. It was really dreading. But like that team and at that particular moment, we just made fun out of it. Like we just kind of like made fun of it because my whole senior year that year, like nobody caught that COVID. Like nobody caught COVID. So for us to like make fun of it and play with it and things like that, we actually handled it pretty well.
You guys were also had a big movie. You guys went to the Big West that season as well for you guys. When you look back at all the memories from that season, what would you say is the funniest COVID-related memory that you guys had during that year?
One of our teammates was like, bro, I think I'm sick. And we were like on a bus somewhere, and we was like, oh, nah, bro, like, no. And he ended up throwing up and things like that. So we're like, oh, bro, we all got COVID. We on the bus. We thinking we all good. We ain't got no mask on. And we get him to a hospital and come to find out we got food poison. He has food poisoning. So like, but the thing was, the coaches came back on some he has COVID, like playing. Since we was playing with them the whole time, they came back and prayed the plank on us. So they was like, yeah, now all you guys have to go get tested and you got to get shots and stuff like that. And I think we were like, nah, bro, like just really mad about it. And they was like, nah, he just got food poisoning and walked out.
Now, when you do talk about on the court, though, you have a pretty good overall season for yourself. Obviously, you had a lot of ups and downs because of the pandemic, but overall, you had a pretty good year for yourself. So what was last year like for you on the court during that final year out there at State Bakersfield?
It was fun. It was probably the most I ever worked. Because I'm not going to say I didn't like to work out, but I want to say when I was going through my injuries, like I just didn't want to. I was just going through a stage of like, yeah, bro, I don't want to do more than what I have to because I don't know what's going to happen. So, yeah, that last year I stayed in the gym. I worked my butt off. I stayed with coaches. I asked managers to stay. Sometimes I would take them out to eat just so we could, like, you know what I'm saying, just so they could feel like I cared, because I do. And I was thankful for them, and I just stayed down in the gym, and I didn't really try to go to any parties or nothing. I did that my freshman, sophomore year. So I want to say, like, my junior and senior year, I just kind of put my foot on the gas.
The season comes to a conclusion. And before we talk about the transfer, there's a special thing you've brought up a few different times of how much it meant to you. So I want to go into them. That's that you end up graduating, you got your degree, you officially finished college, at least that chapter of your college career. So what was that time like when you got to walk across that stage and knew that you fulfilled what your grandma wanted you to do? How big was that of a moment for yourself?
That was the biggest moment probably of my life besides coming here. And I feel like that truthfully. But that was the biggest moment of life because I stayed promising to my grandmother. I didn't get the chance to see my dad since I was like 8 years old. So he finally came out to my graduation. Like I told you earlier, we built our relationship back. So that whole day for me was just great. Like it just brought back every memory that I needed to have and kind of pushed me forward to just be happy, just be thankful, just be grateful.
So did you and your dad text at all or talk leading up to that time, or was it kind of a whole surprise of when you got up there and you saw him there?
No, we talked about it, and he told me he was coming, and the whole time I was just like excited.
Mm-hmm. And then obviously you complete that chapter of your life, and you decide that okay, you have a COVID year. There's one more year of eligibility I have left for myself. Obviously, it's a decision that we've seen guys decide to go pro, just take their gamble. If it's the NBA, if it's overseas, G League, whatever it is, to take that. Some guys have come back and made another year for themselves. We obviously know what you chose at the end of the day, but just take us through the decision process, how you decided on overall deciding to come back to college 1 week, then how you decided on Houston. Like, just take us through the whole transaction period of how you ended up becoming a Houston Cougar.
So when I got done with season, I was gonna go and figure out like NBA G League type stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I realized like I didn't get the exposure that I kind of needed, so to say. Like people knew of me, but they didn't know of me how I wanted them to. So I had like a couple things going on for myself, but I didn't think that I would be put in the best position at the time with agents and figuring out this and figuring out that. So I think like I was telling the coaches at CSUB, which they took their time with me with, because I know that was kind of stressful for them. But I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just do G League, and then like I want to say like a week and a half later, I was like, I'll just transfer. And I think that was probably like tough for them, just because like it was one thing and then it's the next. Mm-hmm. So I just told myself like, I'll just transfer. I kind of want to be in a system where they teach the NBA's type stuff. It's a lot of guards. I'm in a guard-like system, in a guard-like conference. Because I feel like when you're in a guard-like conference, you're going to play the Kendrick Davises and the Alex Lomax, the good point guards, and the Davenports, the good forward men, and you know what I'm saying, good people like that. Lester Quinones that's going to guard you every night. Just people who have a name and that's good at doing what they do.
Yeah.
So I felt like I needed to be around that more so than anything, and then it would just help me showcase if I was good enough to go, or if I was where everybody thought I was, which was like mediocre. So I kind of just decided to put my foot in the water and test the transfer portal. And I had colleges like Colorado reaching out, Georgia, Creighton. It was a lot of them. It was a lot of them. Ball State. It was a lot of schools. Texas Tech at the end. But Houston was the one for me because everybody told me that Coach Sampson wasn't the guy for me. And I had to realize that I might not be the guy for him, but he might be the guy for me. In a sense of like maturity and characteristics and things that I need to change and grow up from. I just felt like it was time for me to make a mature choice. And when I first got here, I did not like it. I told them that. They even know that, like, I did not like it. I had the roughest time ever. But got vulnerable here, just decided to go into Coach Quantis White. That's my dog. That's my man. Till we go, that's my man. He recruited me to come here. And I kind of had a day where it was like, bro, I'm tired of this, bro. Like, this is crazy. Like, this is too much from a mid-major life to like a high major. And he kind of sat me down and talked to me. And that's been my dog. Like, that's been my dog. And how we connect, it's like, I swear I known him for 15 years plus, but I only known him for this 1 year. And he's been everything to me, a good person, father figure, crazy uncle. You know, you got that one crazy uncle. Like, he's that. He's everything in one that made everything so much better for me, going along with the teammates and Coach Sampson. I mean, he made my recruiting process real easy. He didn't lie to me. He told me what it was. And for the most part, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I'm like, yeah, this and that, it sounds good. But when he told me, like, yeah, we work out all day and we do this all day. And you gonna be in film all day. I was like, yeah, man, all right, cool. And then I get here, I'm like, bro, I have no me time. Like, none. And then I had to start realizing, like, bro, when you wanna do something that requires your time and your effort, you'll probably never get that me time. Like, what you do now, you probably want some me time, but you want to do what you want to do because it makes you happy at the end. And that's what they was telling me. It was like, you want to do something that makes you happy and that you can make a career from.
You also brought up the aspect of when you did decide to go and come back to college for another year, that you just want another higher platform for yourself. Mm-hmm. So if someone were to ask you and you were to honestly be real to yourself, like, did you feel that heading to the season, you were a guy that had a legit chance of playing in the NBA? You thought you could legitimately be playing in the league in 1 year from that point? Or where did you feel like you were going to be after a year of playing at Houston or wherever school you ended up going to?
I honestly just gave myself that confidence and just start telling myself, like, you are that guy that you think you are. Just because when I did tell you that, like, I thought highly of myself and I was kind of a high head, it was just because I put in so much work before I broke my leg. It was kind of like and I'm not nowhere near as great as him, but it was kind of like on a Kobe mindset thing where, like, I put in the work so I know what I can do.
Yeah.
And then, like, when I broke my leg and I came back for that, I put in so much time into that. And that senior year, me realizing what I wanted to do is, like, I can go make money. There's not a lot of people that can jump like me. It's not a lot of people that can do a lot of everything like me. There's a lot of people that are good at one thing and they just excel on it. And that's what helps them. But I think the main thing that was good about me is that I could do a lot of everything. So that would kind of help me out a lot. Just me having that confidence in myself, honestly. And the coaches like Coach Q, like, I remember when I came here shooting good and then I went into like a shooting slump. Mm-hmm. And he was telling me, like, bro, you're good. Like, you're just thinking about everything too much. And then kind of just like said, forget it. And then I just went into having a better shooting day, stuff like that.
Well, we have to get into Coach Sampson because he's a very unique coach. He's one of the best coaches in college basketball. And at the same time, we see it as like players, coaches, and all that. We see a lot of coaches like that. You have Coach Sampson, on the other hand. He's just as good as those type of coaches are, but he's not for everybody. There's only a select type of guys that can go play for Coach Sampson and truly be able to get on the same page as him. So I want to take us to that because all you guys on that team, anyone that gets to know you guys, all have that same mentality, that dog mentality, there's that same kind of nature about you guys. So take us through Coach Sampson, just how he brings it out of you guys, just what he's like as a coach.
He's a cool person off the court. Like, that's one person that cool person. And he's cool on the court, but you got to let him come to you. You can't go to him. So, like, he's a cool person, genuine, great guy. But when he's coaching, you listen and you focus and you don't play. And I just think that's just a maturity thing. Like, when you want to go to the league and you have coaches like Greg Popovich, people who've been doing this for a long time, they're not going to play with you just because they've been doing this. And they're like me, I had to realize, like, he's been doing this for 5 decades. Like, he's been doing this before I was born. So, like, his coaching methods are different. How we as kids today go through coaching and we kind of need a little pat on the back, that's not him. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, will he tell you where you did good and where you did good and great and things like that? Yeah. But will he just feel that in your head? No. Because he knows that, like, that kind of, like, gets you the big head. And then him also being that disciplinary person, that person that, like, you just not going to come here and change the culture. I think that was the big thing for me because I felt like I just needed a culture check, a disciplinary check, and he helped me out with that. And then also playing for him, I mean, just his mind, like just the way he thinks, I kind of like started to piece off and pick off a little things from him just because I like to think a lot. Like I like to pick things off. And I think he's one of the smartest coaches ever. I think, like how you said, one of the best. He is the best coach ever. I'll argue with that with anybody. I didn't play for a lot of coaches. I know a lot of coaches. I think that's the best person to ever be around and learn from and experience stuff from, life and on the court. Mm-hmm. Just a great person, overall good person. And he's not there for you to like him, but you gonna respect him. And that's the thing that I pride myself on, like life. Like, you might not like me, but you respect me because I give you that respect.
And we've talked quite a bit throughout this interview that you are known as the jokester, the funny guy. Did you bring that right away? Before you knew Coach Sampson, what SchuZ was about? Like, did you bring that funny nature in the offseason? Then he had to kind of get that out of you for a little bit? Or what kind of thing was the first time we got to know you?
Yeah, he didn't. You want me to be honest? We didn't really kind of like get into it. I just kind of got recruited and just got put in the fire. So like for me, like we didn't really like talk a lot. And like when I first got here, like his demeanor, like I'm pretty sure you've heard of it before, but like his demeanor had you like on edge. So I mean, like me personally, I tried to just walk on a narrow line and tiptoe. And then I realized like, man, he pretty cool and I'm here and you know what I'm saying? I'm starting to open up and everything just got way better. But in the beginning, I'm like, yeah, don't do nothing that you used to doing. Just walk on the straight new arrow.
Now, as you said too, he is pretty cool off the court. And I know most people don't get to see that side of any coach because obviously there's not people around them all the time. So when you guys get off the court, away from the basketball game and practicing, what is he like when you guys just go out to eat or when you guys hang out, walk around the games or on bus rides, plane rides, whatever it is? What is Coach Sampson like in those atmospheres?
He's funny. He really funny. He really funny. Like he'll get to talking about us or like, and it's not bad, but it's like he'll get on us. He'll talk crazy or he'll bring up memories and little stuff like that. He chill. Like he real chill. He love his grandkids. That's one thing I can tell you. Just me being observant. He love his grandkids. And he see us as his kids. So I mean, when he's not being the coach, he's being like a father figure, parent type. And he's having fun. He's joking with us. Brings us over to his house for us to eat. His wife makes us cookies, probably the best cookies I ever had on earth, handmade. So yeah, I mean, that's when you meet him outside, probably the best dude, most genuine person you'll ever know.
So what's your funniest Coach Sampson story that you have from this past year that you've been with him?
I got so many. I think it's when he was getting on me. He was getting on me and I think I was running, like we were running and I was dog tired. I'd never been in a conditioning month. I had a conditioning week, conditioning couple of days, if you want to call it that, because it's like only for 5 days. We had a conditioning month, and we had this thing called 5 back, 10 back, where you got to run 5 yards back, 10 yards back, and then the next group goes, but you have to make it in a certain amount of time. And I don't think I made anything. And he made it hard for me. Like I feel like one time I touched the line, and he just wanted to see like how I react. So like he told me like it don't count, start over. And we was in the middle of what we were doing. So everybody looking at me like, man, T, like you really messing it up for everybody. Like I'm like, yo, bro, just kick me out of practice. Like I'm telling the team, like, bro, just kick me out. Like if y'all want me to go, just kick me out. And he just lit into me. You soft. You need to figure it out. If you want to go home, go home. Like, and it was just like, yeah, nah. And I think he gave me like a little minute to like get myself together and the team huddled around me because I had to get in shape. Like I said, when I left Cali, like all the gyms and stuff were closed. So I couldn't work out. So for like 2 months, I didn't work out. I ain't touch a basketball or nothing. And yeah, man, even summer conditioning killed me. I think I threw up every day until like July. Like, yeah, it just killed me. I ain't never been a part of nothing like that in my life.
Now, do you want to go through this process because you guys head into the season and people expect you guys to be a good team once again. I mean, Coach Sampson's your head coach, and you guys had great pieces. Obviously, the transfers came in, you and Kyler and Josh and company. You guys bring back a super senior in Fabian. You guys bring back all the different guys that are great players. And on top of that, you guys were led by a guy that most people thought could be an All-American candidate in Marcus. You guys had Tremont Mark, who I thought was going to be one of the breakout players of the year last season. We can get into those guys in a second, what happened to them, obviously, later on. But you guys heading this off-season, getting ready to go to the season, what were the expectations for the season? Like, how good you guys think you guys would be, and what was the vibe about the team heading into the season?
We were really confident in ourselves. I mean, we lost those 2 early games to Wisconsin and Bama with those guys. But after those 2 games, I think we came together as a team more than ever, and we really thought we would go undefeated the rest of the year. Even when we played Memphis and SMU, we really thought we would go undefeated throughout the whole year after those losses. So we just had a high ceiling of ourselves.
December comes around, you guys lose Tremont, you guys lose Marcus. Once again, 2 guys that are huge pieces of that team. How did the team react? We
were hurt because those are our brothers. I mean, you never want to see your brother go out on this. You don't never want to see him go out, period. You don't want to let him get hurt, or you don't want to see him at his moments of where he's down and out. But, I mean, we still had to move on, and we had to do what we had to do and things like that. And they were probably the most supportive people ever. The complete opposite of what I was in Baco when I was going through my injuries. They were supportive. They were there. They took a little time off probably to get their mind together. You know how that goes. But they've been nothing but great.
And this is what's unique, because you ask any team in the country that they lose to maybe the best team player on their team and one of the best players in the country, and Marcus, you guys lose another key piece, a top 6-7 option on the roster in Tremont. A lot of people would say, okay, that team's done for the year. Then making the tournament, who knows what's going to happen, right? So that's the typical mindset that a lot of fans would look at your guys' situation and any team that goes through that. That's the complete opposite of what happens to you guys. You guys go on a huge win streak, only lose a few more games that entire year, make it an Elite 8 run. How are you guys able to do that?
Just will. I mean, and we didn't focus about anybody counting us out. Like when we would watch TV and people would be talking about this, or you know how like nowadays they have the little sports betting on some of the ESPN stuff. We just turn it off and we change it. We really didn't care about nobody, and that was the good part about it. We really didn't think about it or read into anything. We just went on about our business.
Another question I know for a lot of people, they say, okay, how good could this team have been if Marcus was there, Tremont was there? Obviously, at the same time, too, when you look at it, would Jamal become the player he would have at the end of the year because of not having as many minutes? Who knows what role he would have had at that point? Who knows how much role you would have had to grow into that role? Like, a lot of things change when the injuries happen and we see guys break out and get more opportunity. But figuratively speaking, like, let's say Jamal still became the player he still was, and you were still your guy, and every single guy still played at the same level. Had Marcus and Tremont never got hurt, would this team have gone deeper, do you think? Do you guys think you guys just made it as far as you guys would have went either way? Or how much better do you think this would have been?
I feel like we probably would have made it deeper, just because I honestly feel like we had the best backcourt with me, Jamal, and Kyler. But I know for sure that nobody could bet against me or say anything wrong if we added T-Mark and Mark to that. And this is basically – it was basically Marcus's team, him and Fave. Yeah. So, I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that we probably had the best 2 guards coming off the bench and 3 guards on the floor, no matter who you played at night, because we could all switch it up and rotate. Sam, if he wanted to see something and go big, he could go with T-Mark, me, or Kyler. Or if he wanted to go small, he could go with Kyler, Mark, and Ma. Like, he could just switch it up and do things that he wanted to do. So, honestly, I feel like if we had our full backcourt, we would be good. And I don't think a lot of teams would beat us guard-wise. That's just my opinion, though.
Well, let's go with this tournament run because it was a special one. You guys go through, you guys get the conference regular season championship. You guys then go through, you guys get the conference championship in the tournament, then go to the Elite 8 run. What was the month of March for you guys like?
It was really like a crazy dream. just because everybody counted us out, and we just kept kicking down the door and kept putting ourselves first. We didn't worry about anybody. We enjoyed each other's time as teammates. We soaked it all in. We lived in the moment. I think that was probably the best thing.
Now, there is a moment I have to ask you about, and it became pretty much viral during the tournament. You guys get a big win, obviously, and Coach Sampson obviously decides to take his shirt off. You guys celebrate in the locker room. You got to take us through that. Like, was that the first time that's ever happened? Did it happen before? What was your reaction when that all went down?
Like I said, Coach Sampson is a cool, stern dude. So when I was finishing up an interview with the interviewer, so I kind of came in late to the party. But like when I seen him with his fist in the air and him shaking back and forth, I was like, oh snap, he got his shirt off. And I seen Josh reaching for the tub of water. So I'm like, yeah, this will probably be my only time to drench him. So me and Josh picked up the water cooler and we threw it on him, and he just started going crazy. I came in late though. I just seen everybody laughing and things like that. I want to say, if you wanted to ask me the best thing about that tournament, it was probably like the pictures. Like every time we excelled and the pictures that we would get, everybody's face would be so crazy.
Now, when you look back and you reflect on how far you guys made, an Elite Eight run was special, especially regarding all the injuries you guys went through. Would you say this was a successful season? Like, did you get everything out of this year that you wanted to when you decided to come back and spend another year in college?
Yes, most definitely. I tell people that now. Like when I first came in here, I didn't see it like that because it was probably, I wanted to go my way, but it wasn't about how I wanted it to go and things like that. I tell people in this 1 year, I lived every dream that I wanted to live. Won championships, got to Elite Eight, got to see the Sweet 16, got to be on the court, just to be on that court and to look around and see those thousands of fans and all those cameras and things like that, and playing at the biggest stage of college basketball. Then getting away from that and doing something that I like doing, which is dunking and getting into the dunk contest. I mean, it was just everything I ever wanted, honestly. And I tell people this all the time, but if I was younger and I had an extra year, I would definitely come back to UH and I would definitely do everything that they said, because, I mean, it worked. And everything Coach Q told me, like I told you, that's my man. Like, love Coach Sampson to death, but Coach Q, that's my man. He told me everything was going to happen before I even got here. When I was in Bakersfield, he was telling me, you're going to win championships, you're going to be in a Sweet 16 and this and that. And I mean, just being able to hear somebody that gave me that confidence, gave me that belief, and then seeing it for myself, I mean, that was everything.
This might put you on the spot. This is my final thing regarding college for you. If you could pick your favorite memory from the time you first stepped foot on campus as a freshman at Cal State Bakersfield to the final moments as a dunk contest champion winner in college, what was your favorite college memory?
Having my mom at the Elite Eight. I think that was my best moment. A lot of the times my mom used to work a lot, so she didn't get a chance to come out and see games and do this and do that. So for her to see me at the Elite Eight on, like I said, the biggest stage, where she always dreamed of me being and I always dreamed of being, and just seeing her while I'm running down the court as I played and scored a bucket and her cheering and stuff like that, that was everything to me. That was probably my most amazing, fantastic kid moment. Like that moment gave me butterflies that I never, even talking about it, it's just fun. It's just amazing.
Well, let's get into the next chapter now that you're about ready to get into and start beginning the process for. And you obviously have now declared for the NBA draft. You're going to be in the 2022 draft now. How excited are you for this next chapter now?
I'm really excited. I'm just ready to start and see where things are for me. I know that I'm older now, so I don't have no more years of college. My college life is over, which I will miss dearly. But it's just another step that I'm willing to take to see what's next for me.
Now, you got probably, what is it now, 3 or so, 4 months until draft day. And obviously then you go to if you not get drafted, you obviously go through the signing process and summer league and all that. But over the next 4 months or so, are there certain things that you're zeroing in on that you want to improve on before you get ready to go out there and start the draft and get to that point?
Just really shooting. Shooting and developing my body a little bit more. I feel like I'm a cut dude, pretty nice build. I just feel like I need to gain a little bit more weight, and then shooting, just being able, I can knock down shots, but I want to be consistent. I want to be able to knock down every shot that I can make and knock down the shots that I'm supposed to make.
And you're probably going to be able to talk to quite a few general managers now over the next few months. If one of them were to ask you, what would you bring to my team? If we were to draft you, if we were to sign you after the draft, whatever it might be, how would you answer that? What would you be bringing to an NBA team?
I'll be bringing grit. I'll be bringing a person that gives the maximum amount of energy. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, I know it's not all about the fans, but I interact with fans. I like for them to feel like they are a part of us. We are a part of them. Mm-hmm. And just that never give up attitude if things go wrong, if things go bad. And I feel like they'll understand me from that because I went through so much that it's nothing for me to do but figure it out and prevail through anything that has been thrown in my way negatively. So just those, because everything else is going to be shown for itself within my game.
You mentioned earlier that you haven't necessarily been someone that wants to dunk on too many people. Obviously, that hasn't been something that you've necessarily been as comfortable with. But let's say a position happened and you could dunk on any player in the NBA next year, assuming no one retires, obviously. Who's the one player you want to go be able to dunk on in the NBA?
It's just because it's my favorite player, so I hold it from him for the rest of my life, but it'll be Kevin Durant. Now, if I had to just be serious and say somebody like I want to, it'd probably be Rudy Gobert because he's huge.
So if you were to get one on KD or Rudy Gobert, what's your reaction? How are you going to celebrate after that?
I'll probably just be like, whoa. Like, I'll probably just stop and look around and then run down the court. Like, yo, I just did that. I'll probably ask a teammate, like, yo, did I just do that? And that'll be it.
I know another thing that some people have asked, and obviously you just won a dunk contest now. The NBA dunk contest this past year was debatably probably one of the worst ones we've seen in NBA history. If you're in the NBA, obviously you qualify for that, and you get the invite, is that something you'd want to take part in?
Yeah, of course. I'm going to take part in that. I'll probably do it one time, though, just to be a part of it. Once or twice if they invite me back, but I would most definitely do it. That's something that on all the NBA lives, I'm pretty sure you had them back in the day. They give you the little slam dunk contest and you want to do all the little crazy moves. So, yeah, I would definitely want to do that.
So if you could pick anyone to go out and do a dunk off with in the NBA, who's the other guy you'd want to go down to in the final championship round? If you could pick one guy you're going up against, who is it?
Ooh, that's a tough one. It's either – I'm going to pick two just because it's an either or. Mm-hmm. But it's either – I'm giving it Miles Bridges or Zach LaVine.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. Well, a few more things before I let you go. One of which is something that you have pinned up in your Twitter profile picture or your header, and it says, "A man with nothing to lose is a dangerous man." And we kind of heard your story now. We've gone through everything you've gone through, but what exactly does that phrasing, that quote mean to you?
I come from nothing. I come from hard work. I come from people getting up every day and not wanting to go to work. I get up from people that worked their butt off for 40 years and they got to do it for 20 more years. The real slums and how people say the trenches is what I come from. Mm-hmm. So that's nothing in my eyes. And a lot of people will tell you, like, it's nothing in Mississippi, so you have to fight for it. So me, that whole saying is this: I have nothing to lose, so don't count me out because I'll fight for anything, for sure myself, but I'll fight for anywhere I want to be and anywhere I want to go.
When you decided to put the ball up, you decided to officially step away from the game of basketball someday down the road, what do you want to be remembered for what you've achieved both on and off the court?
On and off the court, just being a good guy, honestly, being a genuine person, being a person who respected and enjoyed everybody that came around. A guy that is willing to put himself on the line before, you know what I'm saying, he'll ask anybody else to, a giver, a person that will talk to you if you're going through your ill will moments and they'll be there for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. Well, my final thing for you, give NBA fans and just the country in general your three biggest goals that you have set for your rookie season in the NBA if you make it.
First off, make it to a team.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what everybody go over the head. Make it to a team.
Yep.
dunk on the main player. Dunk on the main player and actually just see the floor. Just even if I'm a bench player and I get out there and I'm not saying if, because you gotta work for everything, but when you work for everything, just actually getting on that floor and then embracing every moment of it because it can be taken away from you.
Well, Taze, best of luck with the NBA draft process. I'm excited to see what guy you got next for you, man. Keep being a light. Congrats on the great season you had this year, man, and appreciate taking time to come on today.
No, thank you. I appreciate you.
Of course, man. You're always welcome on, man. God bless.
All right, God bless.